the school where she was going wrote his management by email and said, paraphrasing it, there's a rumor that David might be involved in the disappearance of 18-year-old, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. If that's true, please make sure she gets home quickly. And she got home. She arrived the next day. And that email was received by his management company, and they did send it to him.
So it's actually insane to think that the David situation is actually getting worse, but in a new interview with Jidion, he was able to interview the detective involved in the David case and unravel a bunch of new information regarding the situation, including Celeste's family knowing a lot more than they make it seem, as well as his friends, as well as David possibly having more victims, also underage.
She wasn't truly a runaway. That's the part that's upsetting to me too, is that her family knew where she was, and she'd shown up for her cousin's high school graduation. She showed up at a family event. There's a video out there of her arguing with the next door neighbors in the apartment complex next to her house, all while she's supposedly a missing person.
As well as the new situation involving 10 terabytes of possible CSAM content. This man is literally a monster at this point, and there's no other way to really say it. We're not talking about like some celebrity who got caught up messaging like a younger fan or something. This is a dude who literally allegedly ended the life of a girl who was possibly going to reveal his secret of being a creep who was messing around with her, as well as also other young victims who thankfully are able to get away from that man, because he is going to hopefully serve a long time behind bars, if not given the death penalty. Now, if you guys want to go watch the full interview, I highly suggest you watch it. It is called I Interviewed the Detective Working the David Case by Jidion Premium, where he interviews this detective and he goes into a lot of details regarding this case that a lot of people are probably asking, such as who all knew about this situation, of course, including her family, her friends. People like David's management team knew about this.
The school where she was going wrote his management by email and said, paraphrasing it, there's a rumor that David might be involved in the disappearance of 13-year-old, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. If that's true, please make sure she gets home quickly. And she got home. She arrived the next day. And that email was received by his management company, and they did send it to him. I have proof of that. He was aware of it. So then she arrives back home, but then she runs away again. He was grooming her. He's a predator. This is not the only girl he was involved with that was underage. When Celeste ran away on Valentine's Day, she showed up in the area. Oh, this is the exact same day that they're actually taking possession of the new house that they rented, my client's house.
Yes, sir.
Of course, my client doesn't. My client thinks it's Josh Marshall, his manager, but they take possession of it. So on that day, he's got Celeste runs away that day, and she's at the old house, the one where they did that live stream, delete everything, and he's got another minor at the new house, a mile and a half away, and I've got pictures of that. So, that can be.
Now, this guy on TikTok by the name of BNC_news did a pretty good video talking about another victim of David. Now, is this the victim that the detective is referring to? Who knows? If not, then there's a third victim and probably a fourth, probably a fifth, probably a sixth victim. But this is just one of the victims who has come forward with her story.
This is what she said after David got arrested. Hi everyone, I know nobody knows who I am, but I was a victim of David Burke. I'm just going to say how happy I am to see him arrested. My identity has remained hidden because I deserve a life outside of the case. I went through a lot with David and this is all very hard for me, but to see him behind bars brings a smile to my face. I feel safer and more at peace with my life. I appreciate everyone who helped bring me and other victims to justice. I know things haven't fully been done, but they will be. And this is also one of the girls that private investigator Steve Fisher talked about when he posted this, saying, I also have proof that he had an ongoing illegal relationship with another minor at the exact same time this was ongoing with Celeste. This proof includes a statement from the minor and dozens of photos that include the minor and David. Yes, law enforcement is aware of this relationship, and he also said, I'm also aware of a third minor.
And this all just makes me curious if like all these family members know about this stuff. Like if this is just a common thing that David was doing where he was going around essentially recruiting these younger people who were probably fans of his music, fans of the things that he created, so he could basically do this stuff to them, right? Obviously, this is just genuinely disturbing. And the fact that this guy was able to essentially get away with this for so long now. Now, another one of the main points that gets dived into in the interview is the whole CSAM folder, the archive, whatever you want to call this, where the detective talks about how when he was basically being accused of having this stuff, David had no reaction, as if he's like, oh, I'm caught. You know, it's not like a surprise, a shock that this stuff was discovered. It's more like, oh yeah, they know.
When discovery, which is all the evidence and stuff, is going to be delivered to his lawyers, and the prosecutor comes out. So she comes out and says, Your Honor, one of the biggest issues is that there on his phone there was a voluminous amount of child. Proper word now is CSAM, right? And but she went child. Then she goes, and because of this child, I mean, she said child 4 times in a row. It was very intentional. You had to let him know, we know. He just stared straight ahead. He wasn't like, he didn't turn to his lawyer and like, what the hell? He knew, like, I think he knows that they got him dead to rights right now. So, but she made it sound like there's a lot on there. So I don't think it's just Celeste. I don't think it's just Celeste and this other minor that I'm talking about. I think that there's going to be a lot that he actually was in communication with, and I think there's going to be probably a lot of that material that he sought out on the internet.
Now, the last main point I wanted to focus on in this interview is the whole idea of Celeste being a trophy, which was kind of something I mentioned in my last video, where I talked about how in his music videos, he would like hire these women who looked like Celeste, and he would basically create these really weird, creepy videos about like this Celeste lookalike dying or like being a ghost or something. In reality, it was happening, right? He ended her life. And part of me was like, what if this was just like some weird, elaborate art piece, which is kind of something the detective talks about, and talks about how they kept Celeste in the trunk of this Tesla, almost as if some sort of trophy, like as if they kind of just, it had like a sentimental value to it, right?
Like, because I was talking to a dude yesterday where he thinks David was framed. And his whole thing was, how could David be that stupid to leave the body in the car when the car is to his name and everything? But it's like the dude, something Wayne, the clown killer, when he would kill people, he would put them right underneath his house. And or Jeffrey Dahmer, he would put people right in his fridge. And so it's just like, when people kill people, you can't ration, because I hit him with that same logic. What rational man who's a multimillionaire can have almost any girl he wants of age will go after a little girl? And he couldn't answer that.
It's like it's just not enough for them, I guess, in their sick, twisted, mindset. And listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. As an investigator, I'm very much an Occam's razor type of guy. I'm like, the simplest explanation usually is the way these things go. But I'll tell you, it's hard to get around the fact that his lyrics and everything, I can understand a couple songs, like, okay, like these are things you sing about that are, whatever. It seems very, very like this was his world.
At any point, if David really wanted to pull like a whole freaking Dexter Morgan, Bay Harbor Butcher, he could have just thrown her in like the river. He could have done anything with his body, but he decided to keep it. For how long? It's very weird. It's very unusual why anyone would keep this body, to the point where it was literally like stinking up the neighborhood. The neighbors were complaining of a smell, of course, not figuring out, and 1 + 1. Nobody's expecting a woman to be in David's trunk dead. Now, I think I'm going to wrap the video up here. I thought this was a great interview. It really added a lot more context to the situation, of course, from the first-hand point of view of this detective who's involved in this, and kind of answered some of my questions and kind of set the stage for things I think should happen. Like, I think there needs to be more investigation into some of the management team involved with this. Like, how are you as like a music manager or management team seeing these allegations and not doing any sort of investigation? How are you as parents allowing this type of stuff to happen? And then of course, after the fact, now trying to claim like, oh, like she was lost. She was lost. Like, and she wasn't lost. You know who had her. You know where she was running off to every time she was. And there's just so many more questions that this brings, this whole situation, the more it starts to open. And for the most part, like, I think we all know David is probably in a situation where it's like, lock him up, throw away the key, right? The question is he going to get the death penalty? Are any of his or any of the family members related to Celeste going to face any charges, also be joining David in a cell? Who knows, right? I want to know what you guys think down below about this whole situation. I'll try to keep you guys updated if you like this kind of content. It's depressing content. I get it. I do. But it's like a trending topic. It's something I'm interested in. I've been following since the very beginning. And I thought it's like, I'm here to keep covering it. Thank you guys for watching, though. Peace out.